5,
Are we supposed to be counting?
3, 2, 1.
Hello, happy World Read Aloud Day. We join millions of people all over the country, actually in over 170 countries that are celebrating World Read Aloud Day. And what we're celebrating is our freedom to read and write. And we have a very special treat today.
Today, Raiders, we have the amazing Marty Chan. He's an author, illustrator. His passion is inspiring the next generation of lifelong readers and writers. Keep that in mind, my friends. He uses a combination of storytelling, improv, humor, and stage magic. So we're in for a special treat. Mr. Chan, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. Give me a wave if you can hear the sound of my voice in the library. Excellent. Look at those hands waving. Excellent to see you all. Thank you for inviting me to help you celebrate World Read Aloud Day. And thank you for that great introduction. Now I don't have to do any introductions, but I probably should let you know where I'm doing this broadcast from. If you're wondering where I am, take a look right on the screen. If you're traveling from outer space, you would visit the planet Earth in 2024. You'd zero in north of your country. You'd zero in on the country of Canada, in particular, the province of Alberta and the city of Edmonton, which is sometimes known as Amiskwaciwâskahikan. That's its original Cree name. It's on Treaty 6 territory, and I'd just like to take a moment to thank the Indigenous people who cared for the land. And they include the Nehewak, Anishinaabe, Niitsitapi, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. And in the spirit of reconciliation, I hope we can continue to learn and share from each other. And actually, speaking of learning and sharing, one of the cool things about doing this virtually is I get to share with you a little behind the scenes of how my studio works. Students, give me a wave if you want to take a tour of my studio right now. Yeah, okay, excellent, good. All right, follow me, if you will, all the way to my other camera. So I've got two cameras in operation, one here and one over here. And if you're wondering how it all looks, take a look at my master camera right over here. So right behind me, I've got my studio backdrop that's hiding my basement that was decorated in the height of the 1970s. I don't know what the basements in 1970 look like in America, but in Canada, there's a lot of wood paneling walls, wagon wheel lights, and red shag carpet. Now, if I'm looking straight ahead, I'm going to be looking at this camera right over here. And if I'm looking off to the side this way, I'm going to be looking at this camera right over here. And sometimes in my presentations, I might start doodling on my screen. In fact, let me see what I'm going to doodle today. Ooh, look at that. Okay. All right. Let's see. Who is this? This is me when I had a lot of hair. Okay, so there we go. So if you're wondering how that's possible, I have a little Apple Pencil and my iPad, and it allows me to actually draw on my screen. So technology allows me to do all sorts of really cool things. Unfortunately, the only thing that it can't allow me to do is it can't allow me to actually transport myself to Eastwood and do this presentation for all of you in person. I mean, in order for me to get down to you, I would have to have superpowers like the Flash. And as far as I know, I don't have superpowers. Or do I? I'll be there in a flash. All right. Does it look familiar to anybody? Oh, I guess I'm blocking it. Hold on. Let me get out of the way. Oh, okay. I think I overshot the mark. Unless this is Paris, Texas, maybe I'm on the wrong continent. Let me see if I can get back to North America. Whoa. Okay. Does it look familiar to anybody? I think I'm getting close. But let me see if I can find you. Okay, hold on. Hopefully this is something in your city. Let me see if I can zero in on your school now. Okay. This has got to be the place, right? Whew. Give me a second. All right, students. Hopefully I got to your school. All right, give me a thumbs up if I did. Let me get back to my studio. Did I make it to your school properly? Oh, good. Okay. Last time I wound up in a completely different school. Okay, all right. So as you can see, technology is going to allow me to do some really fun things in this presentation. And I'm going to take the time to introduce you to one of my novels that hopefully you'll be interested in picking up for World Read Aloud Day. And I'm going to show it to you as soon as I find it. Oh, nuts. Okay, so in all my rush to get that flash stuff together, I forgot to grab my book. But don't worry. I have it in my digital collection. Hold on here. There we go. Okay, so this is a digital collection of all the books I've written. And let me show you one of the books right over here. Oh, this is my book, Willpower, which is, it's about a girl who has the ability to move objects with her mind. And she's being pursued by a scientist who wants to use her for experiments. And over here, this is the book I want to talk about. It's blocking my face. Haunted Hospital. Let me see if I can move this out of the way. There we go. All right, so Haunted Hospital is all about a group of teenagers who go into a haunted hospital to look for ghosts, and what they find instead is a lot creepier than anything they imagined. Now, that book is a good example of how I work as a writer, because what I do is I take real life experiences and use them as the starting point for my novels. So Haunted Hospital is actually inspired by a real life haunted hospital in my home city of Edmonton. In fact, let me show you a picture of my hospital right over here. This is an old hospital called the Charles Capsule, which operated as a hospital from about 1920 till about 1992. And in the 1950s, this building was actually used as a TB sanatorium. A TB is tuberculosis, a really contagious and deadly disease that swept through the country. And a lot of people got sick with this disease and had to be sent to sanatoriums to be treated. Now, the patients who wound up in the Charles Capsule Hospital, unfortunately, a lot of them died. And they apparently died young, and they became ghosts that now haunt the hallways of the hospital. And there were rumors when the hospital was in operation that the staff would talk about strange occurrences. Some people said that when they were walking down a hallway that was empty, they would hear footsteps behind them. And when they turned around, they saw nobody there in the hallway. Now, some of the night shift staff, some of the nurses would talk about the empty rooms that were haunted. There were hospital rooms that were empty. But when the nurses went in to check on the empty room, they would see the heart monitor working as if there was a patient in the bed, even though there was nobody in the bed. Now, the custodial staff would talk about the strange things that happened in the basement, where doors would open and close by themselves. And sometimes, on particularly weird nights, sometimes when the door opened, they'd see some creepy figure come through. Okay, all right, that's enough of that one. All right, so eventually, the hospital was closed down in 1992, and it was left abandoned for a number of years. And there was a group of ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, who wanted to go check out the hospital to see if there was any truth to the rumors about the hauntings, right? So they would go into the hospital and they'd look around. And of course, the building was old and abandoned. So of course it was run down because there was no one there to maintain it. And a lot of the sounds they heard were, something that you would associate with an old broken down building. And they could see some of the things were left behind from the previous hospital, like a stretcher or a gurney, or sometimes there would be a wheelchair in a hallway. So most of the things they could explain, but some of the things they could not. And one of them was they actually set up two recorders in an operating room where they performed surgeries. They had a video recorder and an audio recorder, and they wanted to see what they could get out of both machines. And the video recorder just showed the empty room, right? Just the four walls. But when they checked the audio tape, they could hear the sounds of doctors operating in the supposedly empty suite. But when they checked the video, there was absolutely no sign of an operation, just an empty room. Now, at the end of their investigation, the team came across something pretty creepy. When they first got into the building, they knew that the elevator didn't work, right? So they had to carry their stuff upstairs. Now, at the end of the evening, when they're packing their gear up, they happened to be near the elevator on the 3rd floor, and they heard the door open. And the team sort of looked at each other, trying to figure out why the door opened and how it could. But before they could make any decisions on what to do, the door closed, and the elevator descended to the basement. Now, those stories sort of fed into my imagination, and it gave me the inspiration to basically use this building as the main setting for the novel Haunted Hospital. But here's the problem. One of the things that always bothers me about scary movies is that there's never a good reason for people to go into a scary place. In fact, quick question for all of you. Show of hands, how many of you have seen a scary movie and you have the main character hear about some monster or killer that's on the loose, and the very next scene, they hear a weird noise from the basement and they decide to go check out that noise? Show of hands, how many of you? Oh, look at those hands go up. Okay, all right. So you know what I'm talking about. I'll give you a Mr. Beast for that.
How you like that? You don't like that? How you like that?
All right, so you know what I'm talking about. And I wanted to make sure there was a good reason for the characters in the haunted hospital to go into the building. And I thought back to what I did as a teenager. And I remember there was something that I used to play when I was a kid. It wasn't very popular then, but it's actually become more popular now. And I think some of you might recognize this game from a Netflix series. In fact, let me see if you recognize these characters right over here. Shoot your hands up high in the air if you recognize these characters and the show that they come from. Oh, all right. Give me a wave if Stranger Things makes sense to you. Give me a wave if Stranger Things makes sense. Okay, excellent. All right, good. All right, so I'll give you a Spider-Man toast for knowing Stranger Things. All right, so here's the thing. Stranger Things sort of resurrected the popularity of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dungeons and Dragons was a role-playing game where people would basically roll dice and pretend to be different characters in a fantasy world. They could be wizards, they could be hobbits, they could be elves, they could be thieves, they could be warriors, and they would go on quests to look for treasure. Sometimes they go into a dark, magical forest. Sometimes they would go into a magical realm where waterfalls fell up, or they could find a magic island floating up in the sky, and often they'd have to fight monsters like dragons in order to get their treasure. Now, I love playing the game, and I wound up becoming the Dungeon Master, which is basically the person who creates the adventures. And I love doing it. I love setting a creepy mood for my players. I would actually turn out all the lights in the room. I'd set up a skull on the table. I had candlelight. I had movie soundtracks from creepy movies that played while the players were going through their scenarios. And it got really popular with the kids. We had about 15 or 20 people every Saturday playing Dungeons and Dragons in my place. Well, it was popular with almost everybody except for one guy. His name was Jack. And Jack, well, he heard his friends were playing Dungeons and Dragons and he thought, oh, you guys are just playing a kid's game. And so we decided to invite Jack to one of our quests because I wanted to show him what Dungeons and Dragons was really like. And so we basically set up an adventure, and I built it just for Jack. And the idea of the adventure was that all the players were going to go into a village called Sendam. And Sendam was kind of like a place where zombies were. Like if you got attacked by a villager, you would turn into a mindless creature, and the only word you could say was Sendam, right? And through the course of the evening, we were playing this adventure, and I had it in my mind that almost every player would be attacked and turned into a mindless zombie, except for Jack. And through the course of the evening, one player after another was attacked and turned into a zombie. And the players went along with this, right? So they started chanting Sendam when they were turned into zombies, right? So it'd be Sendam, 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 Sendam. Now, At the end of the evening, Jack's character was the only one who survived, and I let his character escape from the village. I thought, okay, well, Jack's going to come back next week to play, right? He never came back. And I was like, oh, I guess he really did think it was a kid's game. Well, a couple of years later, I talked to one of Jack's friends, and I asked him, hey, why did Jack never come back to play Dungeons and Dragons? And his friend said that Jack was so freaked out in that adventure with Sandam that he had nightmares for 6 weeks afterward. And that's why he never wanted to come back to play the game, because he was too freaked out. And it made me feel pretty awesome to know that something I created had that kind of effect on Jack. Okay, all right. So, but it also gave me the idea of why the kids in the book went into the hospital. They were playing a role-playing game, not Dungeons and Dragons in the novel case. They were playing a modern day game where they were pretending to be ghost hunters to look for ghosts, and that's why they were going into the hospital. And so it gave a really good reason for the characters to go in. Now, normally an author will do a reading from their book to give them a sense of what's going on, but I like to do things a little differently. I made a movie trailer to give you a sense of what the book is about, but I have to warn you, it's a little creepy, it's a little scary. Give me a thumbs up if you're okay with creepy and scary. Okay, all right. If you're not, this would be a good time to step out of the room or cover your eyes and ears. Anybody need to step out? Anybody good? We're all good? Okay. Everyone else, get ready for this super creepy trailer that I made for Haunted Hospital.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you.
I know, I'm sorry. I know, it's a dad joke. I know it belongs to 2020, but I had to do it. Okay, all right. I apologize. It's out of my system now. Here for real is the creepy trailer I made for Haunted Hospital. I heard there are ghosts in there.
Let's check it out. It'll be fun.
I heard there are ghosts in there.
Let's check it out. It'll be fun.
All right, so there is Haunted Hospital. I believe there are copies of it in your library. So if you're interested, please do pick it up and give it a read. It's a really cool, fun read if you like scary things. All right. So now I think I've got a couple minutes left to answer any questions coming in from the library, the students in the library. So I'll get your teacher or Miss Medina to coordinate this. I think I have time for maybe 2 or 3 questions before my time runs out. So are there any questions coming in from the library?
Yes, we have lots of questions actually. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with Catherine here.
Oh, me? Wait, we?
Yes,
Oh,
quick.
okay. How long did it take you to write this book?
Oh, excellent question. How long did it take for me to write? Usually with a book of that length, it'll take me a good 3 to 4 months to write and revise what I call my official first draft. And then when I send it off to the publisher, the editor will work with me and we'll spend a good 6 to 9 months sort of getting it into shape. So usually a book takes me about a year to write when it's the length of a Haunted Hospital. Sometimes if it's a longer book, it'll take longer. But usually about a year's worth of my life is put into that book. All right, good question. I'll give you the rock for that question. Excellent. All right, next question.
All right, we have a question right over here.
I don't think he heard you.
At what age did you start writing?
Oh, what age did I start writing? Well, I'm pretty old. So I started writing when these things existed. Uh, so I've actually been writing for over 40 years, but I didn't start off writing books for kids. I actually started writing plays for adults. And in the course of my 40-year career, I've written like 100 plays, 50 episodes of television, and now 20 novels that have been published. So I've been writing for a very long time, but I love writing. So I'll keep doing it as long as people keep reading my books. All right. Thanks for that question. I'll give you a Bigfoot high five for that. All right. Do we have time for one or two more questions?
We do. Hector, go ahead and ask a question.
Did Haunted Hospital remind you of anything else you've ever seen or read?
Did Haunted Hospital remind me of anything else I've seen or read? It reminded me a lot of like different sort of creepy stories that are out there. Stephen King would have some creepy stories, and also lots of urban legends or creepy pastas out there about people going into haunted places. So it did remind me of a lot of stories in that genre, and I kind of feel like it's a genre that people tend to like for some reason. They just like to be scared of things, and I don't know why. All right, good question. I'll give you a Thor for that one. All right, and we have time for one last question.
One last question.
Okay.
Jesus.
Oh, what inspired me to write? What ins- or what inspired me to write Haunted Hospital?
Books in general.
Books in general.
Oh, books in general. Okay. It's not necessarily a what, it's actually a who. It was my old language arts teacher in grade 11. His name was Mr. Nigro. And I remember he gave our class this super awesome homework assignment. He said, I want you all to imagine you've won the lottery and you have enough money to do anything you want. I want you to describe how you use your money to redecorate your bedrooms. Now, I was a lazy kid. So my idea of a dream bedroom was to have a bed I never had to get out of to do all the things I wanted to do. So I actually put my bed on an elevator. Top level is where I slept. There was a skylight overhead. The bed would be on an elevator that lowered to a library with all the books I wanted to read. Next level had a private movie theater and all the movies I wanted to watch. Beneath that, it had a kitchen and a bathroom with an automatic fast food dispenser for KFC, potato chips, Big Macs, pizza. Underneath the kitchen, there was a video game arcade, and the final level had an indoor swimming pool. The foot of my bed was the top of a water slide, and if I wanted to go for a swim, I just jumped on the water slide and I zipped all the way down into my own private swimming pool. I remember I handed that in, and my teacher gave it back to me. He said, Marty, you got a great imagination. You should become a writer. And that was the moment that I decided that this was what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, write stories, and I've been doing it ever since. All right, great question. I'll give you some dancing potatoes for that one.
Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Oppan Gangnam Style.
All right. So, okay. You thought you could get away from that one. Okay. All right. So this brings me to the end of my time with all of you. I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you get a chance to pick up Haunted Hospital or any of the books I've written. I've also got a creepy one called Willpower out there. But do give them a read because they're really fun, and it is World Read Aloud Day. So I'm hoping that this will be the start of your lifelong reading habit. And this brings me to the end of my time. I always like to send people off with something fun. So I thought, what should I do? Oh, a little bit of magic. Anybody interested in seeing me finish off with a magic trick? All right. Okay. All right. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make myself disappear. Okay. I'm going to make myself disappear. All right. So eyes on the screen. Eyes on the screen. Don't look away. I'm going to make myself disappear. Okay. Keep looking at the screen. Keep looking at the screen. I'm going to make myself disappear. Keep looking. Keep looking. All right. I'm going to make myself disappear. Ta-da! No, I don't think anyone was impressed. I think I just got busted. Okay. I know. I just got busted. All right. Oh, no. I'm going to do this for real now. So everybody settle in. Everyone settle in. Bottoms flat on your seats. Okay. Hands in your laps. Eyes on the screen. Mouths closed. Ears open. I'm going to make myself disappear for real. Okay. Everybody do me a favor. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Another breath. One more. And there we have it. That's how I can make myself disappear.
Ta-da!
Pretty
cool trick, right?
What are you doing here?
Hey, what
No,
are you
no,
doing
no,
here?
no.
It's
It's
my
my
turn.
turn.
No,
seriously.
no.
It's my
It's
turn.
my
We
turn.
flipped a coin. Yeah, and
I won the
and
coin
I
toss,
won.
right?
Remember, I called
Yeah,
heads.
you called heads and it came
No,
up tails.
no.
Seriously.
Seriously, I did. Now,
No, I
they're
won.
still
I
fighting
seriously
over
did.
this.
Well,
They're never
okay,
going to
well, let
stop.
me do it
Okay,
just
we'll
for
just
fun.
let them
Well,
go.
you know what?
All right, I hope you
Okay,
enjoyed
I'm
the
not gonna
session,
do that.
everybody.
All right,
Goodbye.
all right,
Goodbye. We'll see you
Goodbye.
around.
Take care.
Take care.
Take
See ya.
care.
All right.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.